You're watching the Isaiah Factor Uncensored.
And welcome back to the second half hour of the Factor Uncensored. Since the tragedy unfolded at AstroWorld, finger-pointing has been nonstop when it comes to who is to blame, especially on social media. One of those being Travis Scott himself. We talked to a group of nationally known DJs who were at the concert, and some actually played there in limited capacity. They say stopping the show isn't as easy as critics make it out to be. Here are the ChopStars.
And joining us here on The Factor Uncensored tonight, the ChopStars, we have OG Ron C, DJ Candlestick, and DJ Hollygrove. You guys were at the AstroWorld, obviously a tough situation out there. Your thoughts on what occurred Friday at NRG Park, OG Ron C?
Well, first of all, I want to just send my condolences first, to all the people that was lost, and, just because that was a very tragic situation. Just for, I've been to a lot of these things, Isaiah, and, just to see, I think that, there's a lot of, we can point a lot of fingers, here to this situation, but I've been to a lot of these, these festivals. I've been a part of a lot of these festivals as being a, celebrity DJ myself who DJ for a lot of these big stars. We've done festivals with 100,000 people, and it's almost like, as from the stage part, looking out, looking in, it's like, what do you do? What can you do? Yeah, you stop the music, and Travis did stop and did tell people, hey, try to get, as we see in all, in the videos, he was telling the people to come help the people. I mean, what do we do? Do you expect a man to jump down there? I don't know. What do we do? I would like to know. It's like I'm asking for answers myself too. It's like, help us as the artists, on this end too, understand, like, in the situation. I know people say, stop the music, and as he brought the music to I don't know if they meant to stop the music completely. He brought the show to a halt to make sure that people was getting the attention and the help they needed. So at this point now, as I left, I'm looking on the outside looking in. But from my experience, I'm talking from my experience from being in these situations and from even being in those crowds as a young participant myself also.
Candlestick, your perspective on who should be held liable here, if at anyone. Was it the responsibility of the audience to be well-behaved, or was it the responsibility of the artist not to whip them up into a frenzy, if that's what happened? Because I didn't see the actual show. I was gone by 5 o'clock.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say condolences to the families. But I think it's kind of hard to point fingers because it's just unfortunate altogether. You can point it at the artist, but that's not fair because it's a Travis Scott show. So it's not the first show. You know how wild it gets. It's like a mosh pit. And at the same time, you're dealing with kids that are just having fun. So they're in the midst of all the chaos. You don't know. You're not considering the fact that people could be getting hurt,
Is that part of the problem, though, when you said, how wild he gets?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said, could that be part of the problem when you said, how wild Travis gets?
I mean, it just depends on, the person, like your perspective. Because to me, it's expected and normal. To someone else, it might be wild, so it just depends on who it is. And like I said, it's, the kids go there in a super fan, like they're being a super fan. So they're in the state of, they're caught up in the midst of the hype and all that. So they're not considering, they don't think it's wild themselves until, it's easy to look back now at all the footage and, cast judgment and all that. But when you're in the midst, it's just like a regular night at the club. You could be, partying and all that, but, when you look back at the film, you're like, oh man, I was acting crazy and wild, but I don't know, it's kind of hard to just put blame on him because it's nothing new. And then, we live in the day of cancel culture. So, everybody's so quick now to point fingers at Travis and blame him, but I don't think he should be getting the blame. It's just, a series of unfortunate events. Like, it could happen anywhere. And I don't think he, promotes that type of stuff. And you can see he's very, very remorseful too. So,
DJ Hollygrove, from your perspective, obviously you're part of the ChopStars, one of those celebrity DJs out there. What do you see on the stage? Are you able to get a clear picture of what's going on in the audience?
No. First of all, I also want to give my condolences to the 8 people who lost their lives, because it's tragic that someone lost their life trying to come out and have a good time and just celebrate, an artist that they love. So it's sad that this happened. I was just explaining this to some people on social media. It's a few things that people have to look at. Everyone is pointing to the video of the young lady climbing up to the camera tower and telling him to stop. It's a few things that, yeah, that's true. She did do that. But you have to understand, this man is doing his job, operating a camera. His focus is the stage, the artist, and if he's told by production or the stage manager or the tour manager or anyone else that's in his headphones, he has to focus on that. So I'm pretty sure he probably didn't hear this young lady. Then, there's the fact that people saying, oh, there's the whole crowd was screaming, stop. That's actually not true. It was a small portion of a crowd of tens of thousands of people. So, even on some of the videos, you can barely hear some of what's being said. Even when they show the video of the security dealing with the first people that, they were actually able to get to. So, him being on stage, I'm pretty sure he didn't hear that either, because he also has an earpiece on with production, his stage manager, and everyone else in his ear, and the music, so he can be on cue. So I kind of think it's wrong that people are just immediately casting, him as being the culprit in this. Just like Candlestick said, these shows do get wild, and not saying in a bad way, but I mean, that's how a lot of concerts are. We can go to rock concerts, we can point out R&B artists that have
exactly
as well. So I just think it's very, very, very wrong to just immediately cast doubt. And then it also kind of infuriates me from being there, seeing people who weren't nowhere near here putting judgment and trying to tell people who were there what happened. It's very just disrespectful.
Still to come here on The Factor, we ask OG Ron C. what he thinks about the future of AstroWorld. Will it return? That's the question after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. As a ChopStar DJ said, wild behavior at Travis Scott's concerts is nothing new. In fact, there's a history of it. But now that 8 people have lost their lives at this year's festival, do other artists think this is the end of the AstroWorld Festival?
OG, do you think we will ever see another AstroWorld in Houston again?
Yeah, we would, because festivals. Listen, these things happen, Isaiah. These things happen. In case somebody's out there and you've been in the bubble and you don't know about festivals, period, around the world. Like, listen, go back. Rolling Loud just happened. Go find out what happened at Rolling Loud. No lives were lost. True enough, no lives are lost. But these same things happen with hundreds of people, thousands of people in a place. People during the summertime, people fall out from fatigue. We see that during all kind of concerts. We see that during a concert at Revention when there's a massive of crowd and people pushing and people's been standing in the front all day and for a certain long period of time. These things are happening. So the portion is what we should be talking about is what is the solution to this? Everybody has something to say and add to the problem. Let's talk about the solutions to concerts and festivals, because this is going to keep happening if we don't find a solution together. But everybody together, we're bringing it down together. Let's stand and find a solution for this, so nobody else's life won't be lost and we won't have to go through this moment. But festivals are going to keep happening. Sorry it had to be Travis Scott, but somebody of artists that we all look up to, a hip hop artist. But go back, y'all, and do y'all research on festivals. These things happen at festivals. It was Travis Scott. So when you're trying to bring somebody down. You know, they're putting all kind of things to this now. I've been in bars and all kind of things. They're putting everything you can imagine to this. Things that have nothing to do with nothing. Now they're connecting it to this. They're connecting it to science. They're connecting it to heaven.
Satan.
Satan.
Call them
They're
a demon.
connecting it. Come on, y'all. Come on now. It's you know, it's like it's they're always trying to find a negative in everything. Can we just, for a chance, can we try to find a solution and provide healing for these people before we, but I get it. Negativity sells more than good stuff, than positivity.